Welcome to a special episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. Olivia Faribaugh.
Welcome to another Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast exclusive. We are here with Olivia Faribaugh, country music artist here from Central Pennsylvania. We are at her CD release show, and we're really excited to be talking to you. Olivia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you guys so much for being here and just adding so much to the day.
Oh, we're happy to be here, Olivia. I mean, this is the stuff that we look forward to. I mean, we get to sit down with people. We get to meet new people. I mean, we get to go to the beautiful Allenberry Theater. Like,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, we're
Couldn't be better.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So I do got to ask, I mean, you are Central PA, born native. You are straight from
Yes.
Palmyra. Now you are a full-time musician living in Nashville. What would Olivia now say to Olivia when she was growing up in high school? What would you say to her? Or what do you think the younger you would react to you now?
Whoa, that is a good question. I don't know. I think she'd be pumped about it. Like, cause I always had this like inkling in my heart that was like, oh, maybe it would be cool to move to Nashville one day and like actually do it. And now it took a lot of steps to get there.
Oh, I'm sure.
But
I'm sure,
I think
yeah.
finally, like the first time I actually admitted like, hey, I wanna go to Nashville. And to now it's been a long road. But I think she'd be pretty pumped about it. I think she'd
That's
be pretty
awesome.
cool.
I would think so, too.
She'd be pretty cool.
I've seen in like interviews. I mean, you've talked about when you were younger that you were almost in a sense like afraid to admit to people that you wanted to pursue a career in music. Why? I mean, like I feel like that's something like most people want to like. They're like, dude, I'm gonna be a musician. Like, it's
shout
over.
it from the
It's
rooftops.
done. Yeah, I'm gonna shout it from the rooftops. Exactly. So like, for you to be here now, and I know you're the same. You're the same person thinking and like feeling what that was like, but being here now, I gotta imagine that's such a incredible feeling for yourself.
Yeah, and that is so true. Like I've 100% said that before because that is absolutely what it was like. And I think there was two aspects of it. Like the first one was like I've always really been trying, I still try to be open to wherever like God wants me to go, like the divine plan, rather than like making the decisions on my own, because I know that like, that's not going to lead to true fulfillment, even if I'm like, oh, I want to be a rock star, and that's not what I'm supposed to be exactly doing. I know I really feel in my heart of hearts it's in music, and but for a while too, I think I was like had a fear of failure. Like if I admitted it, then it would be like, oh man, now there's an expectation. But I've learned a lot, gone to therapy, so that's helped. It's
all about growth.
That always helps. We unboxed that box and we were like, oh, cool. Well, we're going to shut that one and put that one back off to the side now.
Exactly.
But like music is nothing new to you. You've been playing music since you were in 5th grade, right?
Yeah, so it was a summer going into 4th grade. I learned to play the guitar, and then I started writing songs along with it. Like I learned, the classic G, D, C, and I'm like, let's write,
I'm ready to rock and roll.
I don't need to know anything else. But yeah, so I really have had it as an outlet like my entire life, which I've been so grateful for.
Oh, of course.
Because I know like a lot of people don't have that. So, I mean, there's definitely other outlets, but it's just so therapeutic.
It is.
That's what this album today, like part of the songs off of it are written about my own life experiences, and then others are written about the life experiences that I gathered through social media and stories people shared with me.
Did you read my notes?
No, I didn't.
You're literally taking one of my questions almost word for word. So this is perfect. I was literally going to segue into that.
Nice.
So please continue. I thought that was perfect. It was like literally almost verbatim.
I
my
saw
question.
it. That's right.
that's
I got your
perfect.
telepathy. That's what it was.
That's because you were saying that you're like not everyone had that outlet. Not everyone was a
Yes.
musician. So like, that's one of the things that I truly loved that I like saw and read about this album was that it wasn't all just your story. Like you gave voice and validity to like other people's experiences and their truths because they might not have had the opportunity being an artist or a musician, and you gave their experiences a voice. Like that has got to be that's like some next level stuff. Like
Well,
that's
thanks
gotta,
for saying that.
Of course.
Man, I really appreciate that. Like I honestly, especially, some of the songs were from other people's experiences and I had never experienced, like, especially like I wanted to, is super vulnerable, and it's about loss. And I had never lost someone in the way that this woman lost someone. And we almost didn't record it because I was like nervous about, I don't want to, because it's from first person perspective. So I was like, I don't want it to come across the wrong way. And then I was asking a lot of women who also went through the same thing, and they're like, there needs to be a voice to it. And once I switched that perspective, like, yeah, it's like, it's not just a therapy for them personally, but it could, help other people who have gone through that. So I do love that about the album too. And that's where the transparent idea came from, because it's the transparent human experience. And so I wanted to encompass then all of the assets and the parts. I mean, as much as I can. There's a lot. There's a lot to the whole human life thing that we go through.
I'm sure it's got to be a difficult process too when you get people's specific stories, people's specific experiences. But like you said, you were like, man, I don't know if I'm telling the story exactly the way it should be. You had to be okay with kind of making it a generalized version, so it can resound with more people and a bigger audience. Yeah. I'm sure that's kind of like a difficult tightrope balance.
Yeah, I agree, because especially those really heavier songs, I was intimidated by it at first, but once I I went into I was just talking about, that was one, and I just felt like it was like the Holy Spirit moving through, because I read the comment, turned my voice memo on, and just started playing. And that whole song fell out, other than a couple words I switched around.
So you just riffed it.
Yeah, and I was like, that's not for me. That's something else,
That's awesome.
But it was cool, and that was another reason I was like, I really feel like this song should be recorded, and some of those heavier ones that happened with, and so that was kind of a little bit of a sign to me, okay, no, this should be, aside all of my fears about how it could come across,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's a pretty solid message right there. That's oh yeah, I just wrote this like that. Yeah, definitely.
And they definitely don't all happen like that, but it was a cool experience to have that writing process happen like that.
Yeah, that's wild. So now you've dealt with some hard times with your. Oh my goodness, I just fumbled over my words. You've dealt with some hard times yourself over the years as well. You currently are working with a nonprofit and are working with a charity right now for. Forgive me, I forgot the abbreviation.
That's okay, sir.
CIRS.
CIRS, thank you. Yes. So could you tell us a little bit about that and how anybody else could help out with that?
Yeah, so my journey, I got diagnosed with CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, also called CIRS, a lot of different names, but I got diagnosed in November of 2020, and the journey with that started back in 2016. So my husband and I, we moved into a house that we didn't know had black mold, and I started getting sick, and 2 years passed, and I was just sick all the time. And so my mom is the one who put it together. Shout out Mama Joan.
Shout out Mama.
Shout out Mama Joan. And so she's the one who put it together that Olivia, you were totally fine before you moved into this house, and now you're not. I feel like we need to test the house. And so we did. And I won't forget that call. It was the 4th of July weekend, and we got the results back, and he said, your house is literally deemed inhabitable. You can't have another night in the house. And that moment was what shifted just the trajectory of where I am now. And for a while, honestly, I've completely resented the experience, because who the heck wants that?
Yeah,
of course.
Oh, of course.
But now I'm recognizing these things have fallen into place, and being able to create the CIRS Support Fund with Malachi's message. They were already helping people with toxic mold illness, and then we have this branch off of their nonprofit now. And tell people specifically with CIRS, because unfortunately most testing and treatment isn't covered under insurance policies.
That's ridiculous.
And it's wild. So people
you said it takes
stuck.
$3,000 roughly out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
For most people.
And that's just the beginning too. That's not including a lot of times you lose your stuff, because for us, we lost most of our belongings. It was wild. We were taking stuff out of the house, and our box spring, we flipped it over and there was mold growing on the bottom side. And we never thought, because it was underneath,
Yeah.
So, but then we're flipping over this stuff that was decorations, and we saw it, and it was man, so we got the guidance from really smart people and helped us figure out, okay, what can we keep, what can we clean? But you have to clean everything or you have to throw it away. So a lot of people lose their belongings too. So that alone is an expense.
Oh my goodness.
So
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That's a whole other part. I was like, the testing, that's expensive, but you had to literally lose half, maybe 3/4 of all of your personal belongings. 'Cause it's well, you have to. It's well, what am I supposed to do now? That's almost that's a hard reset.
Not to talk about myself, my sister lived in an apartment for a little while that had black mold in it, and
Are you serious?
yeah, luckily she's okay, but she had to get rid of a ton of stuff because of that.
Wow.
Yep.
So she experienced that firsthand too.
Yeah.
Oh. And that's so some people who live in moldy homes or black mold or whatever, they're fine. Like my husband was fine. And so we were always confused. Like, well, why are you okay? And
But I'm always
not.
sick.
Yeah. Like what's going on with that? And so we learned, so about 20% of people have this gene, and it can lay dormant in your body until the perfect storm of toxin exposure. So for me, that was living in the house. So now once the gene is activated, my body doesn't process out toxins like it normally should. And it just recirculates in my body, and my immune system is trying its best to get rid of it, but it just
can't.
sends off every inflammatory marker and just goes kind of wild.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so it's been an interesting journey, but like I was just really feeling for a lot of people, because like we were super lucky because my parents like took us in during this time.
Yeah.
And their home was safe for us to be in. And so we lived with them for a little while, and I started sharing my story, and I started being more open about what was going on, and people were messaging me, and they're like, hey, I think this might be what's going on here and there. And the one night I was talking to a woman, and she was not in a good place. She didn't have a support system. She didn't have a safe place to go, and like away from toxins. And so she was like, I'm just ready to be with the Lord at this point. Like she was in a really bad place.
Oh
And
my goodness.
that's one of the things too, is it cognitively messes with you, because literally your brain is inflamed. So they call it like brain on fire. Like it messes with a lot of things. People experience depression and anxiety. And so they get put on antidepressants when the real issue is that they're in an environment that's not safe. And so at that point, I just so badly wanted to be like, I can help you. But
Yeah.
like we couldn't, like we were strapped financially after throwing away our stuff and everything. So
Yeah.
that was the moment I said to Kate, I'm like, I don't want to talk to somebody again and not be able to say, hey, we have some place that you can go for help and support financially, but emotionally too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the Surge Support Fund, kind of the idea like birthed from. And then I just randomly came across Malachi's message, reached out to me for a podcast interview.
Really?
And then, yeah. And then I was like, oh, cool. And so we just started talking. And then I was like, this is so cool. Like our values are aligning. Like, why don't we just team up and like create this branch off of the Surge Support Fund, or off of Malachi's message?
And
So
now
it was cool.
there's a percentage of your album sales and your
Yeah.
ticket sales from tonight that are actually going towards that branch off from Malachi's message, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted it to go full circle, and I was really grateful that we had some awesome sponsors help out with the album cost too. So I was so grateful that allowed us to be able to give a percentage.
That's
from
incredible.
The album.
That's
you.
really cool.
Thanks.
I love that we were able to touch on all that, and I think it's really important. I'm going to spring it back into kind of more of like a brighter side of things.
Yeah.
So
let's
you-
go to the bright side.
All right.
I'm,
Perfect.
I'm game.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, you have now played in Nashville. I mean, you've played in Midtown. You've played on Broadway. You played like all these different places in Nashville. What would you say is your favorite venue in Nashville to play?
Oh man,
And I'm sure there's probably a lot.
There is a lot. So I just got a weekly spot at Nash House. So that's
Okay.
like 2 blocks off of Broadway, and so 7:20 to 8:20 on Fridays. So if anyone wants to come out, come on out.
Come on down.
But I love, like, I have to say, like, that place has been incredible, and they're just so kind, and they've been so welcoming to me. So I think that is one of my favorite places. But obviously, like, being able to play at places like the Listening Room is like going to be huge one day. I've played at the Pigeon Forge one. I want to play at the Listening Room in Nashville, but I'm playing at the Bluebird in May.
Ooh,
And
that's
so
a big
that's-
deal.
I'm like,
That's
I think
awesome.
that might be my favorite one.
Okay.
I think, but I did an audition there, and it was just like such a cool experience because there's so many talented people that have been on that stage, and it's such an intimate setting, and so it's really cool to just like be in that space. You
Yeah.
know?
And that's
It just has a
intimidating
cool
too.
vibe.
When it's an intimate space, like that's way more because
Yeah.
you're like when it's just like a big room and there's like tons of people. It's almost like for me when I performed, if there was more people in a bigger space, easier. If it's
Yes.
smaller and less people, I'm like, oh, this is
Hello, everybody.
hello everyone.
You actually
We're all
listening
watching.
to
You have no choice.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I did see in an interview you said your dream place to perform would be the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is a
Okay.
beautiful place. I saw Trace Atkins there one time.
you?
Oh yeah, great time. His Christmas
Oh,
special.
it's so good.
What made you choose a Grand Ole Opry?
Well, honestly, like being in the circle, you know how they took the wood where everybody stood when it
Yes.
was at the Ryman, they took that wood and now it's like the same circle. Like when you're at the microphone, you're standing still on the same wood that everybody stood at. Like, I don't know how far back they've gone, you know?
Legends.
Legends. So like whenever I'm playing gigs that's like, you know, your background music, which is fine. Like those help pay the bills, man. Like that's
Absolutely.
totally fine. But I'm like, I just close my eyes and imagine that I'm standing in the circle at the Grand Ole Opry and just having that type of performance. Like honestly, it's where I'm at my brain with that. But I definitely would love to have that visual come true.
Oh
one
my
day.
God, yeah.
It sounds like you're manifesting more than enough. I think, I think like
Let's
your
go for
track
that.
record. I mean, I think it's only a matter of time. I think you're on the right track. I mean, you already live down there. You're doing everything down there. My one specific question that I want to ask, I mean, because you're from Central PA, but you're also now a native of Nashville.
Yes.
So you know both. Nashville is known as the Music City. But recently, the Central Pennsylvania area has been getting the recognition that it so desperately deserves for being such a hotspot for musical talent.
Yes.
What do you think, from being a native of both, that the Harrisburg / Central PA area could do to really become more of like the second Nashville, to really support
so
music?
Cool. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I've always thought that, first of all, I love being a Central Pennsylvania like native. Like that's always where my heart is.
Yes.
And like
Absolutely.
every experience that I have had in the Central Pennsylvania area, like growing up, has prepared me and made me feel more confident going into these places in Nashville. So it's like literally that's always going to be where my heart is. But I think it would be so cool to bring in like the songwriters rounds and stuff like that, because
That's
there's
awesome. Yeah. That's
a
so
great
many
idea.
there's just so much incredible talent in Central Pennsylvania. And like one of the things that I love about the writers rounds, so it's basically, I'm
Yeah,
sure
for
you
the
guys
people
have
that
been
don't
there.
know what
So
they are.
yeah.
For the listeners that don't know what that is.
Right, because so it's everybody. There's usually 3 or 4 artists. They sit on a stage and they write all their original music, and they do songs literally kind of in a round. And that's where the Bluebird got the most famous, because it was the first writers round to like take place in Nashville.
Okay.
And so I think that would be so cool to be able to meet other writers and be able to have like co-writing opportunities to meet these people, see who you vibe with. Because I think that would really be the only thing that's been missing. But I know there's a couple people that are starting to try to get that started. So I feel like that's already in the works.
Oh my God, that would be great.
That'd be so cool.
Either way, I don't think I could have asked for a better answer.
Yeah,
I'll be
no, I
honest.
don't
think
think
that
so
was
either.
like,
Oh, cool.
you had like a specific.
Well, I was
and
thinking
perfect
of that
answer.
not long ago, because I was like, I love doing that in Nashville. And like, there's so many talented people here.
Oh my
It
God,
would be
yeah.
cool.
I mean, it's something we talk about a lot on our show, is like how Harrisburg has something special. Not Harrisburg, Central Pennsylvania has something special to it. And we keep talking about the idea of like a little Nashville. If we could make like a little Nashville somewhere in Harrisburg or Lancaster, York, anywhere,
whoever.
Hershey, you name it. Just get like that Broadway street, basically, where it's
Love
just
it.
there's a band playing at every single bar on that street or
Yeah.
restaurant, wherever. It's
Every
just
night.
Every night. We would love to see that happen. I think that would be a
Yeah.
good place to start right there.
It would be so cool, honestly. Like kind of like a listening room like experience, but here in Central Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing like that. And I don't know. I think that'd be cool.
I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be
That'd be
super
great.
fun.
So, what would you say is your favorite venue back home to play at?
Oh, okay. I played at the River House last night. That's like always they've been so supportive of me throughout. They're in Middletown.
Yeah, it's right. I know,
You know
right where
this-
it's at.
yeah.
My buddy, one of my best friends, he grew up in the housing complex. It's literally right down the road across the street from them.
Yeah,
So right by I know the River House very well.
So it's like there's so many awesome venues though. Like I so appreciate the Inglewood and like playing there. Like there's so
yes.
many great venues, but like from the beginning, like the River House is just they've been so supportive of me throughout the whole journey.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, I'm just going to circle back to the main reason. So we are the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast.
Heck yeah.
You are Olivia Faribault. You have won so many awards through the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. What does it feel like being on this journey as a musician, and then also seeing the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame being a thing? How does that feel as like an artist being a winner, but also still pursuing the dream, quote unquote?
Yeah. I think it's so cool because before, when I started out on like my music journey in Central Pennsylvania, there wasn't an opportunity for artists to really get together. Like you'd go in and play a show and you'd see like other names on the board, like going to other days. But at least for me, like I was like playing during those times. And so we could never really come out and see each other.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm like, oh, I've seen your name and I've seen you on social media, but like I want to see you play, but I'm also gigging and you're gigging. And so it's like we never got to really cross paths. So some of these people that I've literally like seen all over and like, you know, seen on social media, I had never met in person. And then the first CPMAs, I was like, what's up? Like, I feel like we know each other, but we never met.
I kind of know you,
Yeah.
kind of know you, kind of know you.
I know your cat's name.
Right,
That's crazy.
exactly. It's so weird. But yeah, like, so I think that's been the coolest thing to like see there be a place for community and a place to come together. Because as musicians and like creatives and like we're just kind of go through a different thing, and so it's nice to all come together, like, and just experience and be able to talk about our experiences, our trials, our frustrations
Yeah.
or whatever. It's cool to have that moment and come
100%.
together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what honestly the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame is trying to do, is help bring everybody together, help us grow as a community, and just keep getting better every day.
Yeah, and that's what I love too. Like, even in Nashville, there's so many people who like want to uplift you and come together, and that is the mindset I feel like everybody should have. But there's definitely people who don't have that mindset and
competitive.
look at it as a competitive thing. So I think it's really cool that that's what you guys are cultivating, and that's your goal, because that's what musicians need. Like, we're all going through it, we're all doing it. So
Exactly right.
just rise up together,
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you guys
We're
so
so
much.
excited to watch you go out there and perform
Thank
your new
you.
album.
Absolutely.
Go check it out. It's what, everywhere, I imagine.
Yeah, all the streaming services.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
Same streaming services that we're on.
Yeah,
Woo-woo.
exactly.
Just so you guys know.
Go check them out.
All right, well, Olivia, thank you so much
Thank
for your
you guys.
time.
Oh my gosh.
It was a pleasure
Thank
sitting
you.
down with you,
This
man.
was awesome.
All right, well, we're the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. Thanks for checking it out. Another exclusive, and we'll talk to you soon.